Hi guys, it is MZG and I am a digital artist. So I like to draw all the time and I do it on this massive tablet behind me. So yes, let's start off the year 2023 celebrating and drawing together. And I decided to draw Beyonce. So let's see how this goes. So come follow me. To start off, I opened up Photoshop, dropped in the Beyonce photo, and on a new layer, I went on a Doodle Rampage. This may confuse many of you guys out there, but it's actually a fun way to map out all the features. The more doodles you draw, the easier it is. This technique was inspired by watching a whole load of graffiti artists. It essentially follows the same principles as the grid method. It's great for people who get frustrated with proportions and getting the likeness just right. Once I was happy with my markings, I exported everything as a JPEG to use as a reference photo. With this at hand, I got rid of the original photo in Photoshop and started a new layer below. As you can see, I break things down into bite-sized pieces, drawing section by section. You can also save a lot of time by having your color palette ready. So at the beginning, I got my light, medium and dark tones from the original photo by selecting them using the eyedropper tool. Once I finished the first eye, I had pretty much all the colors I needed to complete the whole drawing. It's so easy to get overwhelmed when drawing in general, whether it's a portrait or a spectacular landscape. I try not to overcomplicate things when I look at them. It helps being messy at the beginning and just jotting things down. With that, you can see how it differs from the original. It's okay to be messy and make a bunch of mistakes because at the end of the day, you can build on those mistakes. If something is too dark, make it a bit lighter. If something is a bit too big, make it smaller. I try not to erase my mistakes. Instead, I work over them. Doing this gives my artwork a richness and complexity, especially when I'm using color. I haven't done a drawing in black and white in like a year, so doing this one felt a bit weird for me. I really enjoy working on the lips. I start off by creating a rough outline, making sure to look back at my reference photo with all the doodle guidelines. I then use two mid-tone colors to fill in the upper and lower lip. No detail is required at this point because this is just the base. Once I've finished with the base, I roughly go over it with my darkest grey from my colour palette and then my lightest so that I can blend in between with the blend tool. For me, it doesn't have to be picture perfect. I find it so hard to pick out each individual crease and blemish, so I approximate and it works out in the end. There's also something my art teacher told me way back in secondary school. He said spend most of the time looking at your reference while you're drawing. So my eyes are always darting back and forth, hoping that I'm getting it right. After spending hours focusing on the small details, it's so cool to zoom out and see how things are coming along. Thank God it looks like Beyonce. Now that the lips are done, I quickly sketch up the chin and neck, which is really fun because it doesn't require as much focus. Having a really dark backdrop behind the neck where the hair's supposed to be allows me to see the neck formation much more clearly. The strong contrast makes it more three-dimensional. Because majority of the neck is so light, I didn't bother doing the base layer. A rough sketch mapping out the light, medium and dark areas of the neck is good enough at this point. I swap over to use the blend tool to get things looking nice and smooth. When I see how the colors are blending, it's like liquid gold, just the best feeling ever. When it came down to drawing the hair, to make things as easy as could be, I put the base layer down first, using the darkest grey possible. That way, I only had to focus on the medium and light tones on a separate layer on top. Having my sections allowed me to study the strands of hair one section at a time, rather than getting overwhelmed by the whole lot. Similar to how I drew the lips, I did a rough approximation of where the lighter strands were, then filled in the gaps with the medium tones. I had to stay away from the blend tool here because I needed it to look as sharp and crisp as possible and really jump out at you. Once I finished with the hair, I went on to tackle these damn flowers. Of course, your girl had to make sure she had that base layer down. But this time around, I also needed to roughly outline each flower so it didn't become a splodgy mess. I love looking at nature and flowers. They are absolutely beautiful, stunning, gorgeous. The list goes on, but drawing flowers is just a different ball game, especially when they're bunched up like this. A lot of the times I don't know what I'm looking at, so I had to cross my fingers and use the same formula, but this time focusing mostly on the dark and light tones. Even though this part took me a couple of days to do, I'm just going to really speed through this, so just sit back and relax. Being able to add in those final touches feels so freaking amazing. I usually tend to avoid drawing any sort of clothing because I assume it's going to take a really long time. But it wasn't the case for this one, which was pretty cool. I think using the pencil brush in Photoshop went a long way to bring authentic textures, especially for the hair and clothing. I think rich textures and depth is something you tend to lose when you're creating a digital piece of artwork. For me, to start the year with this drawing really gets me excited for the future. I'm all about ethereal goddess vibes and Beyonce definitely came through. Drop your thoughts in the comments section down below. What would you like me to draw next? You can check out more of my work on Instagram and support your girl by purchasing some prints on my website and subscribing to my Patreon. I'll leave everything you need to know down below. Last but not least, I want to give this Beyonce piece to you, my lovely people. So it's absolutely free. Yes, I said it, free. You can download it and have it as your smartphone wallpaper. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you soon.